Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games, and today we are discussing the possibility of a brand new Zelda game releasing this year, or really just any Zelda game. We'll cover all of our bases here, be it a remaster, a remake, a spin-off, or ideally a brand new game. We'll be discussing that as well as this new rumor we have from PapaGenos, a fellow YouTuber, who has seemingly hinted that he's heard about a new Zelda game where you play as Princess Zelda, something fans have been very eager for. So we're going to be talking about all that and more today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch news, reviews, discussions, coverage, all of that fun stuff, I would appreciate you subscribing. Let's get into it. All right, so the talk of Nintendo Twitter, or X as they call it these days, is this tweet from PapaGenos. So a little background here. Yesterday or the day before, Nintendo announced that they'd be releasing basically the equivalent of the Creating a Champion for Breath of the Wild, that big like compendium with a ton of like design documents and concept art and all that stuff. They're releasing the equivalent of that for Tears of the Kingdom later this year. And alongside that, we got this new image of Princess Zelda with all these different hairstyles. Very cool book. I'm very excited for that to eventually get printed in English by, I think, Dark Horse. They do those books in North America. But PapaGenos posted the picture of the different concept styles for Zelda's hair and tweeted this: Tears of the Kingdom had a great Zelda design. I think we are severely overdue for a game where Zelda is the main character. Seems to me a Hyrule adventure like that is something fans want. Now's the time. Now, if you're looking at the image on your screen right now, you can see there are some very clear capitalizations where there shouldn't be. Basically, if you take all those capital letters, he's saying this is a hint. Now, who is PapaGenos? PapaGenos is a fellow YouTuber, I want to say primarily known for covering Smash Ultimate back in the day, but of course has gone on to cover many other types of games. And last year specifically, he leaked two pretty important things that I think give him a certain level of validity. PapaGenos is not like a Zippo or even like a Puro. PapaGenos is not someone who's just constantly leaking stuff. He just shares information that he's heard, and it seems like his information normally is right. So last year, he was the only person that said Metroid Prime Remastered would be a shadow drop in the February Direct. He said he had heard that information, and it did end up happening. No one else was saying that Prime Remastered would be shadow dropped. He was also saying that he had heard about Mario RPG Remake. Now, I might be misremembering. I don't know if this was before or after Puro had kind of teased it, but he did say he had information about Mario RPG Remake happening before it was announced. So those are two very notable, very recent examples of PapaGenos having some sort of information, some sort of source for Nintendo games, and now he is teasing a Zelda game where you play as Princess Zelda, which is something fans have been clamoring for. I want to say going back to the Breath of the Wild reveal trailer in 2014, where it kind of looked like it was like maybe a female Link or something, and even then we had Linkle in Hyrule Warriors Legends on the 3DS. A playable Zelda, though, is something fans have just been begging for, and I feel like that outcry has only gotten even higher, right? People are just, they constantly are saying like, hey, we should get a Zelda game where you play as Princess Zelda. And of course, take PapaGenos with a grain of salt, but it is definitely worth taking a look at, considering he did leak two pretty major things in 2023. And for me, it's interesting because I am expecting some sort of Zelda game later this year. Now, and I know people aren't going to like me saying this, if you are an advocate for a playable Zelda, I feel like this may be a monkey's paw situation. I could totally see this being not what people want. When people say they want a game where you play as Zelda, I feel like they're talking more about like an EPD3 core Zelda team developed 3D Zelda game. I don't think it would be that, certainly not this soon. Now, to be fair, PapaGenos isn't indicating like timeline for this when it would release. Me saying 2024 is just more speculation, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all that maybe we could get a new Hyrule Warriors game with Zelda as the lead. Or, better than that, maybe a 2D Zelda game where you play as Zelda. That would be really cool as well. Zelda's in a really interesting point right now where we know that Tears of the Kingdom development was essentially wrapped up in 2022. I mean, we didn't get DLC for it. Maybe they're doing like a Miles Morales standalone expansion thing where you play as Princess Zelda. That would be really cool. That would be a big seller for the Switch this year. I posted a video yesterday talking about the need for at least one or two, like 10 million ceiling sellers for the Switch if they are going to hit their forecast for this fiscal year. A Zelda game where you play as Princess Zelda, made by the Zelda team, even if it's a smaller game that they sell for like $50 or something, like Sony did with Miles Morales, and it's like a 10 or 15 hour game, that would probably do pretty dang well, and it would explain the reason that they didn't do any DLC for that game. But I think that's definitely like the most pie in the sky scenario. I have also been talking about on this channel very recently, and more so recently, the possibility of a new Hyrule Warriors game, which as I already mentioned. I could see a scenario where we get a Hyrule Warriors game and it's propped up as a game where Zelda's the main character. I think that could totally be. We already saw Koei Tecmo do kind of that with Linkle in, like I mentioned, Hyrule Warriors Legends. I don't think it's that unreasonable to think that maybe we get Hyrule Warriors The Imprisoning War and you actually primarily play as Zelda. I don't think that's that far-fetched. But what about the other possibilities for a Zelda game this year? I'm personally leaning towards that Hyrule Warriors game. Whether or not Zelda's actually the main character in that remains to be seen, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. However, I think it's totally possible that something could also be a 2D Zelda game developed by Grezzo. Now, Grezzo made, of course, the Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D remakes. They did Link's Awakening, and most recently, they did Miitopia on the Switch back in 2021. So it's been over 3 years since they released a game now. I would say it's probably about time to see what they're cooking, and given their history with Zelda development, they also made Triforce Heroes back in 2015, I should have added that. Given their history, I think it's very likely they are doing something relating to Zelda. Now, the major question mark here is Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. We don't know who's making that. Some people think it's Grezzo, some people think that it would be done by Next Level Games, the developers of Luigi's Mansion, but even that doesn't feel like a major project. Like, I can't imagine that takes that many resources, the entirety of Grezzo. That seems kind of unlikely to me. So I think it's definitely possible that they could be pretty far along in the development on a brand new 2D Zelda game. If the main Zelda team at EPD3 wants to focus on that next big, better than Tears of the Kingdom game, it'd be pretty cool to see Grezzo take the reins on a brand new single-player Zelda game for this holiday as, I mean, this has kind of been the meme for a while now, but as the final major Nintendo Switch game, the final, like, huge game. Of course, we have Pokemon Legends ZA next year, but I think that would be really cool to see them take on a new 2D Zelda game. It's been over 10 years since we got A Link Between Worlds, so we're definitely overdue for one. The Switch has not had a new, unique to the console 2D Zelda game. I think it'd be perfect for this holiday season. I would love to see that. I would say that's also kind of optimistic. I do lean towards Hyrule Warriors. I just feel like the timeline does line up a little bit better for that. But maybe not. Maybe we will get that 2D Zelda game later this year, and that will be their big holiday game alongside like Mario Party and Metroid Prime or something. That would be really cool. We got Mario Wonder last year. That was our revival of 2D Mario after almost a decade, or actually it was over a decade at that point. It'd be cool to get a revival of 2D Zelda after a decade as well. That would be really nice to see before we move on to the Switch 2. There are a few things that I feel like the Switch didn't get that really matter. Donkey Kong, of course, being one of them, and a 2D Zelda game that it can call its own is the other thing. So that would be ideal for me. That's my best case scenario. Or maybe we won't get a new game at all, and we get, well, either nothing or an old game in the form of Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. I'm not too sure if I'm sold on the idea of them being sold as a 2-pack. I'm not sure how much that makes sense from a business standpoint for Nintendo. Obviously, as a consumer, as a buyer of the game, I would like it to be cheaper, and a 2-pack, that'd be nice, but I could totally see them selling them separately. But I mean, these have been percolating for several years. We've heard several insiders say, oh, it's ready in 2021. Oh, it's ready in 2022. I think the oldest rumor goes back to like 2020, like before COVID even happened. So it's been a long time that we've been discussing these remasters of these beloved Wii U remasters for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Is now the time, though. Once again, I would prefer a new game. I always prefer a new game versus an old game, although I do love when they kind of pepper in the remasters and remakes in their schedule. This has already been a very remake-heavy year. I'm expecting more remakes and remasters in the second half of the year. I think a new Zelda game would be better. In fact, I would lean towards, like, I kind of expect that more. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD feel like something they should always save as a silver bullet. I know this year seems bad, but, like, I don't know. I feel like they could save it. Maybe that ends up being a Switch 1 release after the Switch 2 comes out, because they're going to want to keep releasing games for it for a little bit to appease the Switch 1 audience that doesn't jump over to the Switch 2 immediately, be it because they can't find the Switch 2 or if they just can't afford it until a couple years in or something like that. I could see them saving Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for that. So, in my opinion, a new game, I mean, it's always more exciting, but I think for that particular reason, a new game this year just kind of makes more sense. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, that'd be I'm going to be honest, as someone who loves Wind Waker HD, it's my favorite Zelda game, or it's, you know, right up there alongside Tears of the Kingdom and Link's Awakening, and well, I mean, there's like 10 games in my #1 rotation, but as someone who loves those games, I would prefer if they just wait. I know that sounds crazy, but we've been waiting for Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for so long. I would prefer a new game this year, and we get those later on as a gap filler for the original Switch after the Switch 2 comes in. I feel like that just makes more sense. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think of the possibility of a new 2D Zelda game later this year? Potentially one where you play as Princess Zelda, or a Hyrule Warriors game where you play as Princess Zelda, or even a, like I said, a Miles Morales size expansion for Tears of the Kingdom where you play as Zelda. Either way, it's an exciting time. We don't have much longer to wait for that June Direct, only a few more weeks until we should be getting that, and all of our questions will be answered there. I do expect something Zelda this year. To me, the least exciting would be the Wii U ports, even though they'd be very exciting, but I think we're going to get a new game this year. That's kind of how I'm leaning. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What do you think? Of course, subscribe here for more Nintendo Switch reviews, discussions, speculation, all of that fun stuff. And until next time, folks, peace.